Dr. Lisa Chen stood in her laboratory on New Boston Colony, staring at the strange readings on her computer screen. The numbers made no sense. For 3 days, her equipment had been picking up signals from deep space that looked like nothing she had ever seen before. "Computer, run the analysis again," she said, pushing her glasses up her nose. The machine hummed quietly. Outside her window, she could see the red sun of Kepler 442b setting behind the mountains. 200,000 people lived in New Boston now. It was humanity's first real home beyond Earth, built with hope and dreams of a peaceful future among the stars. Lisa had been studying these signals for weeks. They were too organized to be natural, too complex to be random noise. Someone or something was out there. On Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison was having his morning coffee when his communication device started beeping. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. At 45, he had spent most of his life believing humans were alone in the universe. "Morrison here," he answered. "Admiral, we're getting strange reports from all 3 colonies," said his assistant, Commander Amy Roberts. "Dr. Chen on New Boston, the scientists at Haven Station, and the miners at Liberty Ridge are all detecting the same thing." Jake put down his coffee cup. "What kind of thing?" "Organized signals from space. Not random, not natural. Something is sending messages." Jake felt his heart beat faster. After 50 years of space travel, after building 3 successful colonies, were humans finally going to meet someone else? "Get me a connection to all 3 colonies. I want to talk to Dr. Chen personally." While Jake was making his calls on Earth, Captain Pete Williams was flying his transport ship Aurora Dawn between the colonies. He was bringing supplies to Liberty Ridge, where 400,000 miners worked in the asteroid belt around Wolf 359. Pete was a good pilot who had been flying between the colonies for 10 years. He knew every route, every danger, every safe harbor between the stars. His ship carried medicine, food, and letters from home to the people who lived so far from Earth. "Aurora Dawn, this is Liberty Ridge Control," came a voice over his radio. "We've got some weird readings out here. You might want to be extra careful on your approach." "What kind of readings?" Pete asked, checking his instruments. "Our long-range E. Sensors are picking up massive objects moving toward our system. Really massive. Bigger than anything we've ever built." Pete felt a cold fear creep up his spine. He had been in space long enough to know that unknown objects usually meant trouble. On Haven Station, orbiting Proxima Centauri, Commander Amy Roberts was coordinating between all 3 colonies and Earth. Haven Station was humanity's research center, where 600,000 people worked on new technologies and studied the universe around them. "Dr. Chen," Amy said over the communication link, "Admiral Morrison wants to know if you can identify the source of these signals." Lisa looked at her data again. The signals were getting stronger, much stronger. "Amy, whatever is sending these signals is getting closer to us, and there's not just one source, there are dozens of them." "How long before they reach us?" Lisa did quick calculations in her head. "At their current speed, maybe 6 hours. 6 hours. Amy felt her mouth go dry. She had been in the military long enough to know that unknown objects approaching at high speed were probably not coming to talk. On Earth, General Frank Hayes was meeting with world leaders in the emergency session. Frank was Earth's Secretary of Defense, a tough man who had spent his whole career preparing for wars that never came. Now something was finally coming, and he wasn't sure Earth was ready. "Our colonies are reporting massive objects approaching all 3 systems simultaneously," he told the assembled leaders. "This is coordinated. This is planned. Someone out there knows exactly where our people are." "What are our options?" asked the president. Frank looked at the reports from space. "We have no military ships. Our colonies have no weapons. For 50 years, we've been building for peace, not war. If these visitors are hostile, our people are completely defenseless." The president stared at the star map on the wall. 3 colonies, 2 million people living in space. All of them suddenly at risk from visitors they had never expected to meet. Meanwhile, far beyond human space, Admiral Keth Voren of the Zephyrian Confederation was reviewing his orders. The Zephyrians were an ancient race that had been watching human expansion with growing worry. These humans spread too quickly, Kethvorin told his officers. They build colonies without asking permission. They take resources without joining. Our galactic community. They are dangerous. The Zephyrian Confederation included 300 different alien species. For thousands of years they had kept peace in the galaxy by making sure no single race grew too powerful too quickly. Humanity was growing too fast. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked his second-in-command. "We will teach them proper boundaries," Kethvorin said. "We will destroy their colonies outside their home system. When they see our power, they will learn to ask before they expand." To the Zephyrians, this seemed like a small lesson. They would destroy some buildings and ships, maybe kill a few thousand humans. The humans would be scared and would agree to follow galactic rules. It had worked with other species before. But Kethvorin had never dealt with humans before. He didn't understand that humans don't just have colonies in space. They have homes. They have families. They have people they love living on those distant worlds. Back on New Boston, Dr. Lisa Chen was watching her instruments when everything changed. Huge ships appeared in the sky above the colony. Ships bigger than anything humans had ever imagined, covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. "This is Admiral Kethvorin of the Zephyrian Confederation," came a voice over every radio on New Boston. "You have expanded beyond your designated boundaries. You will be taught proper limits." Lisa ran to her window and looked up. The alien ships were so large they blocked out the sun. She could see weapon ports opening along their hulls. "No," she whispered. "Please, no." The first energy beam struck the main city. In seconds, buildings that had taken years to build were turned to dust. Lisa watched in horror as her home, her laboratory, her friends, everything she had worked for disappeared in blinding light. Similar scenes played out at Haven Station and Liberty Ridge. Within 6 hours, all 3 human colonies were completely destroyed. 2 million people died without ever understanding why. Captain Pete Williams watched from his ship as Liberty Ridge was torn apart. Asteroids that had been mined for years were shattered into dust. The people he had been bringing supplies to were gone. But Pete's ship survived. His engines were damaged, but he could still fly. In his cargo hold, he found 50 children who had been traveling between colonies. They were the only survivors of Liberty Ridge. With tears in his eyes, Pete set course for Earth. He had to tell them what had happened. He had to warn them that humanity was no longer alone in the universe and their new neighbors had just declared war. 6 months had passed since the day everything changed. Earth looked different now. Where once there had been peaceful cities and quiet research centers, now there were weapons factories and military training grounds. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's military headquarters. The walls were covered with star maps showing alien positions and human battle plans. His kind eyes had become hard and cold. "Report," he said to the officers around the table. Dr. Ben Parker, Earth's new head of weapons development, stepped forward. Ben was only 34, but in 6 months he had learned more about killing than most soldiers learned in a lifetime. "We've finished the first batch of warships," Ben said. 200 vessels, each one designed for one purpose only: to destroy alien ships before they can destroy us. "Are they ready for combat?" asked Jake. "Better than ready, Admiral. We've thrown out every rule about civilized warfare. Our ships carry nuclear weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, and self-replicating combat drones. If the aliens want war, we'll give them war they've never seen before." Captain Sarah Johnson entered the room wearing the dark blue uniform of Earth's new space navy. Sarah was 28 years old and had been chosen to command humanity's first warship because she was the best pilot Earth had ever produced. "The crew training is complete, Admiral," Sarah reported. "We've studied every piece of alien wreckage Captain Williams brought back. We know their weaknesses now." Captain Pete Williams sat quietly in the corner. The man who had once carried supplies between peaceful colonies now wore the uniform of Earth's intelligence service. The 50 children he had saved were safe, but the memory of watching 2 million people die had changed him forever. "Tell them what you found, Pete," Jake said gently. Pete stood up and activated a holographic display. Images of alien ships and weapons appeared in the air above the table. "The aliens fight like gentlemen," Pete said, his voice bitter. "Their weapons are designed to look impressive, not to kill efficiently. Their ships have viewing windows so their enemies can see who they're fighting. They follow rules we've never heard of." Dr. Kate Miller, Earth's new expert on alien psychology, added her analysis. Kate had spent months studying every recording from the attack, trying to understand how the alien mind worked. "They expected us to surrender after they destroyed our colonies," Kate explained. "In their experience, most species give up after losing a few thousand people. They've never fought anyone who treats war as we do." "How do we treat war?" asked Colonel Matt Davis, the hard-faced man who now commanded Earth's new special forces. Kate looked around the room at the grim faces. "We treat it as total war. We fight until our enemies are completely defeated or we are dead. That concept doesn't exist in their culture." Commander Rick Thompson, head of Earth's intelligence operations, spread photographs across the table. Rick had been a peaceful scientist before the attack. Now he spent his days planning how to kill aliens more efficiently. "Our stealth ships have been mapping alien positions for 3 months," Rick reported. "They have 47 military bases within 100 light-years of Earth. Each base has between 10 and 50 ships." "How many ships do they have total?" asked Jake. "Maybe 2,000. Sounds like a lot until you remember we're building 200 ships every month now." Dr. Ben Parker smiled grimly. "Our shipyards are running 24 hours a day. Every factory on Earth has been converted to military production. We're building the largest war machine in human history." General Frank Hayes, now Earth's Minister of War, looked at the production reports. In 6 months, humanity had gone from having no military ships to building the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. "The aliens think they taught us a lesson," Frank said. "They're right. They taught us that the galaxy is full of enemies who will kill our families without warning. We learned that lesson very well." Captain Sarah Johnson had been studying alien combat recordings. "Admiral, their battle tactics are centuries out of date. They fight one-on-one duels between commanders. They give formal challenges before attacking. They try to minimize casualties on both sides." "And our tactics?" Jake asked. Sarah's smile was cold as winter. "We attack from multiple directions simultaneously. We use every advantage we can find. We don't stop shooting until everything that can shoot back is dead." Colonel Matt Davis had been training Earth's first Space Marines. These soldiers were taught to fight inside alien ships, something that hadn't happened in galactic warfare for thousands of years. "My Marines are ready, Admiral," Matt reported. "We've trained them in zero-gravity combat, shipboarding techniques, and alien base assault. The aliens design their ships for comfort, not defense. My people will go through them like a knife through paper." Commander Rick Thompson had more intelligence to share. "Our analysis of alien communications shows they're completely unprepared for our response. They keep sending diplomatic messages asking why we haven't surrendered yet." "What do the messages say?" asked Jake. Rick read from his notes. "They say, the attack on our colonies was a corrective action, and they're willing to discuss terms for our proper integration into galactic society." The room fell silent. Everyone remembered the images Pete Williams had brought back. Cities full of families turned to ash, children's playgrounds vaporized, 2 million people murdered to teach humanity a lesson about proper behavior. Dr. Kate Miller broke the silence. "They genuinely don't understand why we're angry. In their minds, they showed restraint by only killing 2 million of us instead of attacking Earth directly." Jake Morrison looked around the room at his officers. 6 months ago, these had been scientists, explorers, and peacekeepers. Now they were warriors planning the destruction of an alien empire. "Status of the fleet?" he asked. Captain Sarah Johnson answered. 200 ships ready for combat, all crews trained and equipped. Long-range scout ships have already identified our first target, which is Vega Prime. It's their forward military base closest to Earth. Intelligence estimates 50,000 alien military personnel from 12 different species. Jake studied the tactical display showing Vega Prime. It looked like a peaceful research station, not a military fortress. But these aliens had taught humanity that peaceful appearance meant nothing. Dr. Parker, are the weapons ready? Ben nodded grimly. Every ship carries enough firepower to crack a moon. Nuclear warheads, antimatter missiles, and kinetic bombardment systems. We can turn that base into cosmic dust. Colonel Davis, are your Marines ready for boarding operations? Matt's smile was sharp as a blade. My people are trained to capture alien ships intact. We want their technology, their maps, and their communication codes. We want to know where every alien base is located. Commander Rick Thompson added, Our stealth ships are already in position around Vega Prime. When we attack, they'll jam all communications. No warnings will reach other alien bases. Jake Morrison looked at each of his officers. They had all lost friends in the colony attacks. They had all spent 6 months preparing for this moment. Gentlemen and ladies, Jake said quietly. 6 months ago, the aliens decided to teach humanity about galactic politics. They killed 2 million of our people to show us our proper place in their civilization. He paused and looked at the star maps covering the walls. Today, we begin teaching them about human politics. They wanted to show us the consequences of expanding without permission. We're going to show them the consequences of murdering human families. Captain Sarah Johnson stood up. Orders, Admiral? Jake Morrison's voice was cold as space itself. Launch the fleet. Target, Vega Prime. Mission, total destruction. Leave no survivors to warn the others. As the officers filed out to prepare for humanity's first offensive action, Jake remained alone in the war room. He thought about the peaceful colonies that had once orbited distant stars. He thought about Dr. Lisa Chen and her scientific discoveries. He thought about 2 million people who had died just for being human. The aliens had made their biggest mistake when they assumed humans would react like other galactic species. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to turn tragedy into terrible purpose. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity intended to win it. Admiral Tony Clark stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars shift as his fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 50 human warships appeared in the Vega system like ghosts materializing from the darkness. Tony was 42, years old, and had been Earth's best naval commander before the aliens destroyed humanity's colonies. Now he commanded the most powerful assault fleet humans had ever built. Report, he ordered. Lieutenant Commander Nancy White, his tactical officer, studied her instruments. Target confirmed, Admiral. Vega Prime base is directly ahead. I'm reading 47 alien ships docked at the station. Life signs? Approximately 50,000 aliens from 12 different species, just like intelligence predicted. Tony nodded grimly. 50,000 alien military personnel. Before the colony massacre, that number would have horrified him. Now it just looked like targets. Signal from Captain Foster, reported the communications officer. Captain Jim Foster commanded humanity's stealth ships. For 3 weeks, his vessels had been hiding in the asteroid belt around Vega, mapping alien positions and waiting for the main fleet to arrive. Admiral Clark, this is Foster, came the voice over the radio. My ships are in position around 20 different targets throughout the system, ready to begin simultaneous strike operations. Confirmed, Captain. Begin Phase 1. Jim Foster had been a submarine commander on Earth before joining the Space Navy. He understood stealth warfare better than any other human officer. His ships were invisible to alien sensors and armed with humanity's most devastating weapons. All stealth units, this is Foster. Target your assigned positions. Fire on my mark. 20 human stealth ships opened fire at the same moment. Nuclear missiles struck alien communication arrays, weapon platforms, and supply depots throughout the Vega system. In 30 seconds, the aliens lost their ability to coordinate their defense. On Vega Prime Station, Commander Vel Karen of the Zephyrian fleet was having his morning meal when the explosions began. Vel Karen had been stationed at Vega Prime for 10 years and had never experienced actual combat. "Commander," shouted his aide, running into his quarters, "we're under attack. Human ships have appeared throughout the system." Vel Karen couldn't believe what he was hearing. Humans? But we taught them their proper place months ago. Why are they here? "Sir, they've destroyed our communication network and half our defense platforms. They're attacking everything at once." Karen had studied galactic military history. This kind of coordinated assault hadn't happened in thousands of years. Civilized warfare involved formal challenges and single combat between opposing commanders, not simultaneous attacks on multiple targets. On Admiral Tony Clark's flagship, the main assault was beginning. All ships attack formation Delta 7, Tony ordered. Target the main station, maximum firepower, minimum time. The 50 human warships moved into a tight formation that concentrated their weapons on the largest alien structure. This violated every rule of galactic warfare, which required opponents to spread out and fight individual duels. Major Lisa Rodriguez commanded the human marine assault teams. Lisa was 31 years old and had trained for 6 months in the art of boarding alien vessels. She was about to lead the first human assault on an alien military base. Marines, this is Rodriguez. Boarding pods launching in 30 seconds. Remember your training. These aliens have never faced soldiers like us. Dr. Alex Murphy, humanities expert on alien biology, was monitoring the assault from his position on the command ship. Alex had spent months studying alien physiology to help human weapons designers create more effective killing tools. Admiral, the aliens are not responding as expected, Alex reported. They're not fighting back with maximum force. They seem confused by our tactics. Tony looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were trying to form into traditional duel formations, but human vessels were ignoring their challenges and attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. They're waiting for us to follow their rules, Tony realized. They expect formal combat, single ship against single ship. What are your orders, sir? Asked Nancy White. Tony's smile was cold. We follow human rules. Destroy everything that can shoot back. The human fleet opened fire with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Nuclear-pumped lasers tore through alien shields designed to deflect energy weapons, not survive direct nuclear explosions. Kinetic bombardment systems launched solid projectiles at tremendous speeds, punching through alien armor like paper. Captain Jim Foster's stealth ships continued their systematic destruction of alien infrastructure. Admiral, we've eliminated their sensor networks, communication systems, and early warning stations. The aliens are fighting blind and deaf. Major Lisa Rodriguez's boarding pods struck Vega Prime Station like meteorites. The human marines inside wore powered armor and carried weapons designed for close combat in zero gravity. The aliens had never faced soldiers prepared for internal ship warfare. Boarding successful, Lisa reported over her radio. Meeting minimal resistance. These aliens design their bases for comfort, not defense. My teams are advancing rapidly through all sections. Dr. Alex Murphy was recording everything for analysis. The aliens are trying to surrender, Admiral. They're broadcasting surrender codes on multiple frequencies. Tony Clark looked at the images from the station. Alien personnel were laying down their weapons and trying to communicate their desire to end the fighting. In galactic tradition, surrender was supposed to end combat and begin negotiations. But Tony remembered the images Captain Pete Williams had brought back from the colony attacks. He remembered cities full of families vaporized to teach humanity a lesson. No prisoners, Tony ordered. Complete destruction. The human assault continued until nothing on Vega Prime remained alive. 50,000 alien military personnel died in 8 hours. The humans took no casualties because the aliens had been completely unprepared for total war. Lieutenant Colonel Nancy White coordinated the final destruction. All alien ships destroyed, all installations demolished, all personnel eliminated. The base is completely annihilated. Major Lisa Rodriguez led her Marines through the ruins of the station. Admiral, we've captured their computer systems and communication codes. Intelligence will be very interested in what we found. Dr. Alex Murphy analyzed the alien equipment his teams recovered. Their weapons are designed for show, not efficiency. Their armor is decorative rather than protective. They've forgotten how to fight real wars. Captain Jim Foster's stealth ships patrolled the system, making sure no alien survivors could escape to warn their allies. System secure, Admiral. No alien vessels remain operational. No survivors detected. Admiral Tony Clark surveyed the complete destruction of Vega Prime. What had been a major alien military base was now nothing but scattered debris and floating wreckage. "Signal Earth," he ordered. Mission accomplished. Vega Prime eliminated. Alien response capabilities in the sector neutralized. The news of Vega Prime's destruction reached Earth within days. Admiral Jake Morrison read the reports in his war room, surrounded by maps of alien space and plans for future operations. Dr. Ben Parker analyzed the captured alien technology. "Admiral, their military equipment is centuries behind ours in terms of killing efficiency. They've spent so much time avoiding real conflicts that they've forgotten how to build proper weapons." Commander Rick Thompson's intelligence teams studied the captured alien communications. "The aliens are panicking, Admiral. They've never seen an entire base destroyed with no survivors. They're calling it impossible." General Frank Hayes looked at the strategic situation. "How are they responding to the attack?" Rick checked his reports. "They're calling emergency sessions of their Galactic Council. 47 different species are demanding action against humanity. They're trying to form a united military response." Jake Morrison studied the star maps. The aliens controlled hundreds of star systems and had thousands of ships, but they had never faced an enemy that treated war as humanity did. "How many ships are they gathering?" Jake asked. "Intelligence estimates 800 vessels from different species. They're calling it the largest military force in galactic history." Dr. Kate Miller, the psychologist, offered her analysis. "They still don't understand human warfare, Admiral. They think this will be a traditional battle with rules and limited objectives. They have no idea what we're actually preparing to do to them." Captain Sarah Johnson, now promoted to Commodore, was training more human pilots every day. "Admiral, our production facilities are completing 50 new warships every week. By the time their Alliance fleet is ready, we'll have numerical superiority." "Jake?" Morrison looked around the room at his officers. The attack on Vega Prime had been humanity's first offensive action. It had succeeded beyond every expectation. "Gentlemen and ladies," he said quietly, "the aliens wanted to teach us about galactic civilization. They destroyed our colonies to show us the consequences of expanding without their permission." He paused and looked at the tactical displays, showing alien fleet movements. Vega Prime was our response to their lesson. 50,000 alien military personnel learned what happens when you murder human families. Colonel Matt Davis, now a general, commanded Earth's expanding marine forces. "Orders for our next operation, Admiral?" Fleet Admiral Steve Jackson stood in the command center of humanity's largest warship, watching as 2,000 human vessels prepared for the greatest battle in galactic history. Steve was 48 years old and had been chosen to command the entire human space fleet because he understood something the aliens did not. Wars are won by the side willing to pay any price for victory. "Admiral, alien fleet detected approaching the Alpha Centauri system," reported Captain Julie Anderson, his intelligence chief. Julie commanded humanity's stealth operations and had been monitoring alien movements for weeks. "How many ships?" Steve asked. 800 vessels from 47 different alien species. They're calling it the Grand Alliance Fleet. According to intercepted communications, they believe this will be the decisive battle that stops human expansion. Dr. Maria Gonzalez, humanity's leading expert on artificial intelligence warfare, looked up from her computer screens. Maria had created the self-replicating combat systems that allowed human ships to coordinate attacks with precision no alien fleet could match. "Admiral, my AI systems are ready. Every human ship is connected to our combat network. We can coordinate 2,000 vessels as if they were a single weapon." General Carl Lewis, Earth's specialist in planetary warfare, studied the tactical displays. Carl had spent 18 months developing humanity's methods for conquering entire worlds, something the galaxy hadn't seen in thousands of years. "The aliens think this battle will determine the war's outcome," Carl said. "They don't understand that we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting to eliminate the threat they represent to human survival." Dr. Paul Wilson, humanity's strategic analyst, had been studying alien military history for months. Paul understood that the galaxy's concept of warfare was completely different from humanity's approach to conflict. "The Alien Alliance expects traditional combat, Admiral," Paul reported. "Single combat between commanders, formal challenges, limited objectives. They plan to defeat our fleet and then negotiate surrender terms. Steve Jackson looked at the holographic display showing both fleets approaching each other. The aliens had more ships, but human vessels were designed for total war rather than ceremonial combat. What they don't realize, Steve said quietly, is that humans don't surrender. We either win completely or die fighting. There are no other options. Captain Julie Anderson's stealth ships had been infiltrating the alien fleet for days, gathering intelligence and preparing sabotage operations. Julie had been a special operations officer before joining the Space Navy, and she understood the value of fighting from the shadows. Admiral, my stealth units are in position throughout their formation. We can disable their command ships and communication systems before the main battle begins. Dr. Maria Gonzalez's artificial intelligence systems were already analyzing alien ship movements and predicting their tactical responses. Maria's computers could process information faster than any alien mind and coordinate attacks with perfect timing. Their fleet is organized according to species, not tactical efficiency, Maria reported. Each alien race fights according to their own traditions. They have no unified command structure. General Carl Lewis had studied the political structure of the alien alliance. 47 different species, each with their own government and military traditions. They make decisions by committee consensus, which means they respond slowly to changing battlefield conditions. The human fleet moved into attack formation with mechanical precision. Unlike the aliens, who arranged their ships according to honor and tradition, human vessels were positioned for maximum combat effectiveness. All ships report ready for combat, announced Commander Rick Thompson, Steve's tactical coordinator. Rick had been promoted from intelligence work because he understood how to turn information into battlefield advantage. Signal from the alien fleet, reported the communications officer. Admiral Keth Voren of the Zephyrian Confederation is requesting formal combat protocols. Steve Jackson read the alien message. According to galactic tradition, the two fleet commanders should meet in neutral space to discuss terms of engagement, agree on rules of combat, and establish conditions for surrender. Send reply, Steve ordered. Tell Admiral Keth Voren that humans don't follow galactic combat protocols. Tell him we follow human rules of war. What are human rules of war, sir? Asked the communications officer. Steve's smile was cold as the space between stars. Complete destruction of enemy forces. No survivors, no negotiations, no surrender. The Battle of the Twin Suns began when Captain Julie Anderson's stealth ships launched simultaneous attacks on alien command vessels. 24 alien ships were destroyed before the main fleets even opened fire. Dr. Maria Gonzalez's AI systems coordinated the human assault with precision no biological mind could match. 2,000 human ships moved as one weapon, concentrating their firepower on specific targets while avoiding friendly fire. The aliens tried to respond according to their traditional combat methods. Individual ships challenged human vessels to single combat. But the humans ignored these challenges and attacked in coordinated groups. They're confused by our tactics, reported Dr. Paul Wilson. Their commanders keep broadcasting formal challenges that we're not answering. General Carl Lewis watched the tactical display as human ships surrounded and destroyed alien vessels. With ruthless efficiency, they expected honorable combat between individual warriors. Instead, they're facing total war designed to eliminate their entire fleet. Admiral Keth Voren, commanding the alien alliance, tried desperately to understand what was happening to his forces. The humans were fighting like no civilized species in galactic history. Commander, why are the humans not following proper combat protocols? Keth Voren asked his aide. Sir, they appear to be treating this as extermination warfare rather than limited conflict. They're not trying to defeat us honorably, they're trying to kill all of us. Keth Voren couldn't comprehend such barbarity. In 10,000 years of galactic civilization, warfare had evolved beyond simple killing. Modern conflicts were about demonstrating superior skill and technology, not destroying enemy forces completely. Broadcast surrender terms, Keth Voren ordered. Offer them territorial concessions and resource rights. Surely they will accept reasonable terms. But Steve Jackson wasn't interested in territory or resources. He was eliminating a threat to human survival. Admiral, the aliens are broadcasting surrender offers, reported the communications officer. Ignore them, Steve ordered. Continue, The attack. Dr. Maria Gonzalez's combat systems were analyzing alien weaknesses in real time. Admiral, their ships are designed for defensive warfare. Their shields are optimized against energy weapons but vulnerable to kinetic bombardment. All ships switch to kinetic projectiles, Steve commanded. Human vessels began firing solid projectiles at tremendous velocities. The alien shields, designed to deflect laser beams and particle weapons, were useless against simple chunks of metal moving at relativistic speeds. Captain Julie Anderson's stealth ships continued their systematic destruction of alien support vessels. Admiral, we've eliminated their supply ships, medical vessels, and communication relays. The alien fleet is operating blind. General Carl Lewis coordinated the human assault groups. Unlike the aliens who fought as individual ships, human vessels worked together in coordinated formations that maximized their combined firepower. Enemy resistance is collapsing, Carl reported. They can't coordinate their defense because each species fights according to different traditions. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, 800 alien ships had been completely destroyed. 2 million alien military personnel were dead. The Grand Alliance fleet, the largest military force in galactic history, no longer existed. Human losses: 12 casualties from accidents during the battle. 0 ships destroyed. Dr. Paul Wilson studied the aftermath. Admiral, 17 alien species have withdrawn from the Zephyrian Confederation. They're requesting individual peace treaties with humanity. Steve Jackson looked at the debris field that had once been the Alien Alliance fleet. Pieces of ships from 47 different worlds floated in space, testament to humanity's complete victory. Signal Earth, he ordered. The Grand Alliance fleet has been eliminated. Human space is secure. Recommend beginning occupation operations of former alien territories. Captain Julie Anderson was already planning the next phase of operations. Admiral, my intelligence teams have mapped the locations of every major alien base within 200 light-years of Earth. They're all defenseless now. Dr. Maria Gonzalez's AI systems were analyzing captured alien databases. We have their star charts, Admiral. Every alien world, every military installation, every trade route. The galaxy is open to us. General Carl Lewis smiled grimly. The Yaidu aliens thought they could teach humanity about proper galactic behavior by destroying our colonies. Now they understand what happens when you threaten human families. Steve Jackson activated the communication system that would broadcast his message to every remaining alien world in the galaxy. This is Fleet Admiral Steve Jackson of the Human Space Forces speaking to all alien civilizations. The Zephyrian Confederation and their Grand Alliance attempted to limit human expansion by destroying our colonies and murdering 2 million of. President Helen Davis stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking down at the world that had once been the capital of the Zephyrian Confederation. 3 years had passed since the aliens destroyed humanity's colonies, and the galaxy was now a very different place. Helen was 51 years old and had been elected Earth's first wartime president during the darkest days of the conflict. Now she presided over a human empire that stretched across 200 star systems. Madam President, the Galactic Council is ready for your address, said Ambassador Diana Ross, humanity's chief diplomatic officer. Diana had been a university professor before the war, but now she negotiated treaties with alien species on behalf of the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. How many species are attending? Helen asked. 212, including 47 former members of the Zephyrian Confederation. They're all here to formally acknowledge human dominance over galactic affairs. Admiral Chris Brown, commander of Human Occupation Forces, reviewed the security arrangements. Chris was 43 years old and commanded military bases on every major world within 300 light-years of Earth. Security is tight, Madam President. Human Marines are stationed at every access point. Our ships control all orbital positions around this world. Dr. Sandra Martinez, head of post-war reconstruction, carried reports about humanity's transformation of conquered alien territories. Sandra was 35 years old and had overseen the conversion of 47 different worlds to human administrative standards. The efficiency improvements continue to exceed projections, Sandra reported. Industrial production on former alien worlds has increased by 400% under human management. General Kevin Taylor, military governor of the former Zephyrian territories, commanded the largest occupation force in galactic history. Kevin was 46 years old and ruled over populations that had once been part of the galaxy's most powerful confederation. The local populations are adapting to human administrative methods, Kevin reported. Some cultural resistance continues, but overall compliance is acceptable. President Helen Davis walked into the Great Assembly Hall where representatives from across the galaxy waited to hear humanity's vision for the new galactic order. These aliens had once considered humans to be primitive barbarians who needed to be taught proper behavior. Representatives of the galaxy, Helen began. 3 years ago, the Zephyrian Confederation made a decision that changed the course of galactic history. They decided to teach humanity about proper boundaries by destroying our colonies and murdering 2 million of our people. The alien delegates sat in complete silence. Many of them had supported the original attack on human colonies, believing it would force humanity to accept their designated place in galactic civilization. Today you gather not as our equals, but as subjects of the new galactic order. The age of committee-based governance and ceremonial warfare is over. The galaxy is now administered according to human principles of efficiency and strength. Admiral Chris Brown's occupation forces maintained order on 47 different worlds. Each former alien capital now hosted a human military base and administrative center. The old galactic emphasis on art and philosophy had been replaced by industrial production and resource extraction. The former Zephyrian territories produce more food, energy, and manufactured goods than they did in the previous century of their independence, Chris reported to his staff. Human administrative methods have eliminated their inefficient cultural practices. Dr. Sandra Martinez supervised the cultural transformation of conquered worlds. Under human guidance, alien societies focused on practical skills rather than traditional ceremonies. Children learned human languages and human history instead of their ancestral customs. Educational efficiency has improved dramatically, Sandra noted. Young aliens trained in human schools show 5 times greater productivity than those educated under traditional methods. General Kevin Taylor governed the alien populations with firm but fair administration. Former alien leaders who cooperated with human authorities were allowed to maintain positions in local government, but always under human supervision. The transition has been smoother than expected, Kevin reported. Most alien civilians prefer human administration to the inefficient committee systems they lived under before. Ambassador Diana Ross negotiated with the remaining independent alien species. 200 different civilizations had requested treaties with humanity rather than risk the fate that had befallen the Zephyrian Confederation. 12 more species have requested to join the Human Alliance system, Diana reported. They're willing to adopt human military training and administrative methods in exchange for protection. The protection was real and necessary. With the old galactic order destroyed, smaller species faced threats from aggressive neighbors who no longer feared the collective response of a galactic confederation. How are the new alliance members adapting to human military doctrine? Asked President Helen Davis. Better than expected, Diana answered. They appreciate the effectiveness of human training methods. Several species have reported success in resolving territorial disputes that had lasted for centuries. The former galactic philosophy of avoiding conflict through endless negotiation had been replaced by humanity's approach of decisive action. Disputes that might once have dragged on for decades were now resolved quickly and permanently. Admiral Chris Brown reviewed the strategic situation. Human bases now exist in every major star system within 500 light-years of Earth. No hostile force can threaten human worlds without facing immediate retaliation. The old fear that had driven humanity to build its war machine was gone. Earth's colonies were now protected by the most powerful military force in galactic history. But the price of that security had been the transformation of human civilization itself. Dr. Sandra Martinez studied the social changes on Earth. Our population has become completely militarized, Madam President. Every citizen serves in either the military or war-related industries. The peaceful exploration society that existed before first contact no longer exists. Is that necessarily bad? Asked President Helen Davis. Sandra considered the question carefully. We're safer than we've ever been. Our children will inherit a galaxy where human dominance is unquestionable. But we're also a fundamentally different species than we were 3 years ago. General Kevin Taylor had been thinking about the same issue. The aliens created us, in a way. When they destroyed our colonies, they forced us to become what we are now. The question is whether we like what we've become. Admiral Chris Brown had no doubts. The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in thousands of years. Conflicts are resolved quickly instead of dragging on for generations. Trade moves efficiently instead of being blocked by committee decisions. The human way works better than the old galactic system. Ambassador Diana Ross had a different perspective. We've achieved peace through the threat of total war. Other species cooperate with us because they know the alternative is complete destruction. It's effective, but it's based on fear rather than mutual respect. President Helen Davis looked out the window at the alien city below. Under human administration, it was cleaner, more efficient, and more productive than it had ever been. The alien population was healthier and better fed than their ancestors had been for centuries. But the old alien art galleries were now weapons factories. The traditional music halls had become military training centers. The cultural traditions that had evolved over thousands of years were being replaced by human methods and human values. Do you think we made the right choice? Helen asked her advisors. Admiral Chris Brown answered immediately. We didn't have a choice, Madam President. They forced us to become what we are by threatening our extinction. Everything we've done since then has been about preventing anyone from ever threatening human families again. Dr. Sandra Martinez agreed. The old galactic system was inefficient and ultimately dangerous. Committee-based decisions and ceremonial warfare created conditions where aggressive species could exploit peaceful ones. Our system prevents that. General Kevin Taylor added, the species under our administration are safer and more prosperous than they were before. Yes, they've lost some cultural independence, but they've gained security and economic opportunity. Ambassador Diana Ross had the final word. The aliens taught us that the galaxy was a dangerous place where survival required strength. We learned that lesson very well, perhaps too well. President Helen Davis made her decision. Standing before the Galactic Council, she announced humanity's vision for the future. The galaxy will continue to operate under human administration. Trade, defense, and resource allocation will be managed according to human standards of efficiency. Species that cooperate with this system will prosper. Those that resist will be eliminated. The alien delegates accepted humanity's terms without debate. They had seen what happened to species that challenged human authority. The Zephyrian Confederation, once the galaxy's most powerful alliance, no longer existed except as a series of human-administered territories. The age of ceremonial warfare and committee governance is over, Helen continued. The galaxy now operates under human principles: decisive action, efficient administration, and absolute security.